Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising 2021. We're all starting a new chapter in human history with the upcoming Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius, which will define the next 20 years ahead. And each one of the zodiac signs will play a particular role in the socio-economic fabric of society and humanity for the next 20 years. And for Cancers, that will be a very profound topic. For Cancers, the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, which is conditioning and which is defining the next years, 20 years, it's happening in your 8th house, guys. And it means that a lot of Cancers, whether it's their rising sun or moon, will have some important 8th house role to play for years ahead. Because Saturn and Jupiter define what is your role in society? How do you contribute to society? What is your obligation for society? And they are meeting in your 8th house, which means Cancers will become like the psychologists, the astrologers of humanity for the next 20 years. A lot of Cancers will develop deep interest towards occult topics, towards topics of deep investigation, whether scientific or occult, because the 8th house is the house of digging. The 8th house is has Scorpio qualities to it. And Scorpio likes to dig, to investigate, to research, to get to the bottom of problems and issues and figure them out, to get to the deepest motivations of humans or any situation, to understand it and to resolve it and to heal it. So Cancers can find themselves like the agony aunt of others, where others come to you to share their secrets, to share what is, you already probably, I'm quite sure a lot of people come to a lot of Cancers for that because of their compassionate nature, whether it's sun, moon, or ascendant. And now you're going to see intensification for that, as if your whole life was preparing you for this period where people would like to share their secrets, where they would like to confess to you. And a lot of you might feel drawn towards careers of such deep investigation of the psyche, of the soul, of helping others go through huge transformations emotionally, psychologically. And Cancers will be called to take a role of crisis managers in society, in situations of big reversals or tragedies or changes. You'll be there to lead people through the bridge, to lead people through the trauma, to lead people through those huge changes, because the 8th house in astrology, where those two important planets that define the social, political, economic trends for the next 20 years, a meeting in your 8th house, and the 8th house rules basically deep transformations and changes, sudden changes, transformations. I mean, we're talking from death to divorce to getting, losing your identity, losing, and something having to change very fast. And you'll be called to be helping in such situations. Others will come to you and you're going to start feeling it from 2021. Through such very pivotal crisis, life-defining 180-degree U-turn situations in life. But let's roll back a little bit. Because for the past 2-3 years almost, Saturn has been in the opposite sign from Cancer, which means, the opposition of Saturn is felt very strongly. And Pluto has been opposing Cancer, and Jupiter in 2020 has been opposing Cancer. So a lot of you might have been feeling some kind of opposition in your life. And 7th house rules other people, as if your life has been conditioned till the end of 2020 by others. If you wanted to start something or to do something new, you always had to take into consideration another person or outer circumstances for some reason. You had to be, they gave you a condition or restrictions about where you want to go and the direction somehow. You had to take others into consideration, repeating again. Plus, it means that your relationships, 7th house rules relationships, generally might have been tested for the last 2-3 years. Maybe there were some delays and slowing down of resolution of conflict or problems in relationships, because Saturn slows down in every way it passes to it. Kind of, you get stuck there a little bit. And Saturn takes like 2.5 years. So a lot of Cancers had to deal with kind of a stagnant situation in relationship. And sometimes, some tests appear in relationships in the extreme case scenario. Usually there might be increased responsibility. There will increase responsibilities for you with a partner, for example, like my husband is Cancer Sun, and from the moment Saturn entered his seventh house, which is me, the partner, I've been working so much. So that's what happens. Sometimes there might have been pressure on your relationship because your partner was working very hard, because your partner had many demands, not so much time for the enjoyable side of relationship as more like the let's get things done and let's fix problems, and let's maybe you took on mutual responsibility in relationships that feel a bit burdensome and heavy. Maybe they took the spark. Saturn, when it transits opposite your ascendant sign, especially your moon sign, and less so the sun sign, but as well, can take out the spark and spontaneity of relationships, and not only personal relationships. I mean, one-to-one relationships with everyone, they become more of a routine. They become more of a way to cope with difficulties, to overcome problems, or to do responsibility, to do some difficult tasks. And as well, I'm giving my husband as an example, but since Saturn entered his seventh house, even though it opposed the sun already 2 years ago, but he still feels it. We've been just taking care of mutual responsibility, taking care of babies. Saturn is duty, responsibility. And it's been straining and a little bit taken the luster and the glamour away from relationships. But if it's a good relationship, Saturn has consolidated your relationships, had made them even stronger and more committed with mutual responsibilities. If it was difficult relationship, Saturn is depicted like the death with the scythe. It chops off the unnecessary things when it comes to relationships. Sometimes it can even, create some kind of a dissatisfaction. It shows you if you're not in a good relationship or a difficult relationship, the dissatisfaction increases. It's kind of like a reality check, and it just doesn't feel fun anymore, and it just gets too heavy. And the ultimate goal of Saturn is to basically to take stock of your relationship, to correct what is wrong there, what is not going well. And in some extreme cases, maybe some of you had to separate in a relationship, had to leave behind what is the dead wood, like the dead, Saturn chops off whatever is dead and removes it. While others, their relationship became even more stronger and connected through some trials, through some mutual responsibilities. But also it means that in the past 2 years, a lot of your relationships was centered a lot more on work. Saturn is work. Maybe you had to work with your partner on something. Or maybe your partner had too many work responsibilities. Or maybe just you were much more involved with one-to-one, with clients, because Saturn is something serious, business responsibility. And when usually Saturn transits the seventh house cusp, the most productive relationships are the business connected, or some if you're doing some project together, which demanded a lot of heavy responsibilities again and involvement. But usually, it's best for such relationship. And some of you, maybe if you're attracted in your personal life relationships, they were more Saturnian, maybe older partners or age difference of some sort, usually more than 5 to 7 years or higher. Or maybe they were just more elderly, more responsible people around you, more demanding as well. Your partner might have become more moody, more pressed for time, or just more. I remember when I had Saturn transiting my seventh house, my partner back then was very demanding. He was pushing me to do my business. So kind of the motivation for hard work comes from another person. You might have been forced even into that. Like I remember my partner then was putting lists for me, what to do at home, clean, do the bed, like Excel sheets, very Saturnian, like ordered. And I was resenting that, but it really put me into order. And he was really pushing me in my career. So you might have felt in another way, it's like a pressure from an outside source, usually from a partner, a close person, or some authority figure. But also, it can, how it have played out is also that the ultimate goal of Saturn in your seventh house, which finishes by the end of 2020, but I'm just recapitulating for you, is not only to test you about relationships, to it often, even if you're trying to start a new relationship, Saturn transiting there can delay it, can make it like a slow, drawn out process, or sometimes it can even freeze the possibility for relationships and contacts unless they're not personal but more work related. And and the ultimate goal is that for you to restructure your relationship has been to become more realistic about what it is that you want in relationships, what it is that is, you have to take some difficult choices there, very likely. But these lessons are finishing, guys. It's going to get, especially in that sphere, easier for you because Saturn is moving out of there. And actually, whatever you did with your relationships for the last year, 2020, or even the previous one, will have will give you a very long-lasting foundation for your relationships, connections, or one-to-one interactions. And seventh house also sales. If you are someone that is in sales, maybe you had to work hard on that, developing some business or sales with clients. And now when Saturn moves out from the end of 2020, from your seventh house, you're going to see the good fruits, the hard work that you've done, whether it's for your business, for sales, for attracting clients, the results. You're going to see them once Saturn leaves. And finally, there'll be the pressure going away from your relationships, demands from others, some heavy responsibilities with others. Maybe your partner not going to be anymore so moody or so demanding, or your partner's not going to be so buried at work themselves. And there'll be like more lightness coming into personal relationship. And, if you've done the hard work that you did, it will pay off here in the seventh house. But they're moving into your eighth house, Saturn and Jupiter. Let's see on spiritual and personal level and material level, what does it mean? And together, first of all, let's start with ancient rule in Vedic astrology. When Saturn and Jupiter are together in the same house or in the same sign, they make this area of your life manifest. Because Jupiter brings opportunities. So from the very beginning of 2021, there will be opportunities that come in regards to this eighth house, and Saturn manifests them. Saturn makes you work hard on them, to implement them, to build structures there. So it's not just inspirations that you feel with Jupiter, but you actually get down to work with Saturn. And what is the eighth house? First of all, on the material level, it's taxes. So some of you might really get 2021, start making some tax changes or have to cope with taxes. Maybe you neglected taxes. Now you have to really take care of them, learn how to do them, for example. Not some complicated, unravel some complicated knots there. There might be some opportunity even to stash away more taxes because of Jupiter. There's some hidden money, for example. But Saturn says that you have to do it in a lawful way. If it was just Jupiter transiting your eighth house, I was going to tell you guys, even if you don't declare your taxes this year, it's not going to get you. You can put them in an offshore company or whatever. You can really make a lot of undeclared extra hidden money somehow. But because Saturn is there, you can find some alleviations and some loopholes when it comes to taxes and to external income that comes to you from others, but you have to do it in the legal way and, make sure everything is by the correct, which is what Saturn requires, political and lawful steps. On another level, the eighth house is insurances and inheritances. Some of you might start dealing with, especially if you're in business that's connected to taxes, insurances, inheritances, you're going to be very busy, not only next year, but for 2-3 years ahead almost. But personal insurances and inheritances, that may become a topic of, for some of you even suddenly might find out they have some kind of inheritance coming to them and they have to deal with such matters. And first they'll start fast because Jupiter is also there in 2021, but there might be some kind of there will be conditions with insurances, inheritances, and taxes that you have to draw out, might drag in for a couple of years after that while Saturn still is in the eighth house. So you have to be done in the legal step by step. Mutual resources is the eighth house. A lot of you cancers might put a lot of efforts into, I don't know, investing. If you're married, your mutual marriage finances and resources. Saturn and Jupiter. Jupiter wants to learn more and more about investments. So you can have a lot, you can take courses or expand your knowledge about how to invest resources. Your resources are mutual resources. Eighth house is investments. Putting your money somewhere in stock bonds or markets or in some mutual fund of some sort, or just managing the resources of others in some way. You might invest a lot of time and study and research and hard efforts. And don't expect some sudden, if it was just Jupiter transiting there, I was going to say, wow, you can invest your money and suddenly make huge bucks. Like, you buy something for 5 cents and it turns, into $1 and you make, a few thousand times over your investment. But because Saturn is there, you have to really research well. You have to do it in the more conventional, traditional way. Jupiter will bring you the intuition and the wisdom and the right information and the right opportunities. But don't take like big risks because of Saturn there. You have to do it in more established companies. Very likely something connected also to Aquarius, to new technologies and stuff likely. But you're investing and mutual resources, it proceeds slowly, but there are opportunities there and you have to work on them. And the eighth house is also, I can give you an example because Geminis in 2020 had Jupiter and Saturn transiting the eighth house, and I've been observing a few Geminis. What happens? So you know what's coming for you. So, for example, 2 of them, their husbands, because of the virus, whatever, they could not, when they were having Saturn and Jupiter in the 8th house, there were decrease of income coming from a partner because Saturn is stronger in Aquarius. No matter what we say, Jupiter is there. Yes, it will bring opportunities, but Saturn is stronger. So there can be some kind of a restriction or cleansing a little bit of the financial cash flow from a partner. And those girls had to, they didn't leave their partners or whatever it is, but they were coming to me asking me, is it going to be well? But interestingly enough, they managed to create more resources by attracting money from other people. They found other clients because they both have their own businesses, and they found other clients. They really work on expanding. They really worked hard, and there were opportunities on how to expand their client base. Not so much the client base as the resources that come from client base. So sometimes Saturn in the 8th house can indicate that there is a bit of a tightening situation with resources from a partner. But because Jupiter is also there in 2021, there will be opportunities to find for your partner, even to find new, to work towards more financial security and to find new opportunities, because the 8th house is your partner's money. So your partner will be working very hard on new opportunities for finances. And it's okay if some are locked down and some are slowed down. And the final results might take a little bit longer to see the final results, but they're on a path of creating more financial security, getting more educated financially, becoming more mature in regards to finances. And because if it was just Saturn there, it might be really blocked, finances coming from your partner, or support, financial, emotional, moral. But because of Jupiter there are some restrictions you have to, and some conditions. At the same time, new opportunities are coming, and your partner will take them, and your partner will, it's not only that. Your partner will take them, but there'll be certain conditions that come with that. And sometimes it means that a couple is saving for something long term. They might be saving, and that's why their mutual resources, they have to be more organized, more structured with that. Might be saving for a house, they might be saving for education, but it's something that they feel happy and inspired about, because Jupiter is also there. There is a purpose to this restriction. So even though it's almost like if they have to make a sacrifice and restrict financially, they know what the purpose is. Jupiter is meaning, purpose.